Auntie and the boys, they went up to the mountains. They left the University of Maryland interns and charged the Underdog Productions tonight. And at great expense, they took me out of the bayous of Southern Maryland. Hi. I'm blind Oyster Rockerfella, and I'm here tonight to sing you some blues. So welcome to Crabtowne, USA. Oh yes, that's the blues. I can feel the blues coming on. I just want to sing a little song here. Where's the camera? Let me sing you a little song here tonight. I can feel it. Come on now, gather round. Watch another big episode of Crabtowne. Oh, Crabtowne. Yeah, you're gonna be real good. You know the way it should is Crabtowne. On Crabtowne. Well, come on, Lucia, Clair wrote a book, Yeah. And tonight we're gonna take a look, oh yeah. We got some other exciting stories for you, so just stick around. Another episode of Crabtowne. Oh, Crabtowne. Right back.
Sauna Suit for fitness. Sauna Suit for life.
Sauna Suit vitamins and healthcare products has everything you need for a complete fitness program. Of course, we can't do your sit-ups for you, but if you want to look like this,
Sauna Suit for fitness. Sauna Suit for life.
Sauna Suit uses only the highest quality ingredients composed of herbs, vitamins, minerals, and enzymes. For more information about Sauna Suit's Joy of Health program for men and women, call your local Sauna Suit distributor today.
Sauna Suit for fitness. Sauna Suit for health. Sauna Suit vitamins. Sauna Suit for life. For life.
Yeah. You know my friend, Lucia Clair Robinson, she told me she's writing these books, see, on, like Indians, you know. I don't really know no Indians myself. I met some Indians down in Florida once, but, I mean, at least they said there's Indians. I don't know, they might have been hippies. They all look alike to me. That's a little joke there. They call me blind for a reason, you know. Anyways, she was, my friend Lucia, see, she's writing these books, and I expect they're good. Lucia, she's a pretty smart somebody now. I have faith in my girl. But, you know, the talking book version hasn't come out yet, so I ain't familiar with the material. But, maybe if we just goes and ask her, we'll find out. Otherwise, you know, we can just lay around a shanty and get a good buzz on.
How?
Why? She said how.
Yatta hey.
Yatta hey?
Yatta hey.
Let's see. I gave her the office.
Go on in.
You must be Lucia.
No.
Okay, she's the maid.
I work here.
I understand from a rumor around Annapolis that you were that you were born and raised by wolves and then later sold to the Indians. And is the truth of this rumor.
Oh, that's absolutely true. Yeah, I discovered South America and invented the microchip. Yeah.
Yeah, the microchip came from.
Chipping, we were just chipping stone arrowheads, and the idea came to me. Yeah.
And microchips were later used for Indian for the first clam dip and things, right? At receptions. And,
I was born in Baltimore.
Okay, we'll get serious here.
I'm a Baltimorean.
Baltimorean.
Yeah, I was born in Baltimore, but I left. I left early, even before I could walk. I hitchhiked and went down to Florida where it was warm, and grew up down there. So I'm a warm weather animal, definitely.
Okay, well at least you admit to that.
Mhm.
I think that's admirable.
Yeah.
And I understand from our research, we kind of probe into people's backgrounds, and we have a lot of spies in the area.
Your check is in the mail.
Okay, I got it before we came, or we wouldn't be here.
All right.
That you've done time. I mean, you've spent time in Japan, and you were in the Peace Corps, and are these true? Because
Yeah.
a lot of times things aren't true. They put in the backs of novels to make
Right,
people seem
right.
much more interesting than they really are.
Yes, and
That's probably one of the reasons we're here, to confirm or deny some of this stuff that's on the novel sleeve, so.
absolutely. Well, no, actually, yes, I did go down to Venezuela and spent 2 years in the Peace Corps after college. The one thing they did say in the blurb in Walking My Soul is that I was born and raised near the Everglades. See, that's the operative word, near the Everglades.
Well, anybody in their right mind who knows geography knows that Baltimore is just north of the Everglades.
No, I wasn't born. Okay, I was
Okay.
raised near the Everglades, but actually I wasn't. I was raised in West Palm Beach. When I went back to school, I got a graduate degree, a master's degree in library science back down in Florida, and I applied for jobs, and this seemed like a really nice area. Besides, it was the only place they offered me a job. So I got a job in the Anne Arundel County Library System
What year was
as a
that?
librarian. This is in 76, 75.
Mhm.
And took one look at Annapolis and said, I'll take the job. I mean, it's a great place. So moved to Pines on Severn and have been here since 76.
Oh,
So about 10,
so this is 10
be 11
years.
years this summer.
Oh, okay.
Worked for the library system for 7 years, and was a science fiction reader. So I went to Baltimore for the Baltimore Science Fiction Convention, which is every year. It's an annual event. This is the 20th coming up. And I met an editor and my friend Brian Daly, who's a science fiction writer. And I just mentioned this Cynthia M. Parker story because I'd come across it doing school programs for the library system, and reading information, things I can tell the kids. And I just mentioned her life, that it must have been more fascinating than anything anyone could make up, more interesting than fiction. So Brian and his editor kind of pushed me into doing it, really. And that ended up being Ride the Wind.
Okay, and that's your first novel.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was actually all by accident that you
Yes.
came to write. I mean, and you hadn't written
No.
anything or much before that.
No. A few articles for the library system and little things like that, letters. No fiction. Certainly no fiction. But it's a good story, and the history is there. I call it filling in the blanks because the chronological events are there and the people, and you just have to get as much information as you can and then try to imagine what life must have been like. It's a time tripping and trying to recreate the past.
So that's the basis of historical fiction.
Seems to me, yeah.
Um,
But yeah, I went from writing no fiction to having to turn in a 1,000-page manuscript. And I was working full-time at the library at that time. So it was...
Give us an idea of how long it took, how long the research took, and how long the writing took, and just the whole process until it came... it was
Well,
published.
I just got a letter from someone out in Texas last week that straightened me out on one aspect, a mistake I made in the book. And it was research that wasn't available, And so the research is still going on, technically, but about 18 months to 2 years. And I just keep reading the whole time I'm writing. I mean, up until I turn them in. In fact, even in galleys, I'm still making corrections with new material. Because it's just masses and masses of information. My editor says you only use 1/4 of your information. That 3/4 of it you can't use. It's just too much. So the second book, Walk in My Soul, is a chapter that was cut out of the first book.
Huh.
Sam Houston's relationship with the Cherokee, which my editor said it really doesn't belong here, so put it in the next book. And I said, sure, I'm never even going to finish this one.
Mm-hmm.
So
Let's
that was
mention about
expanded.
the 2 books. I mean,
Okay.
they're published by.
Ballantine in trade size, which is the large size paperback. And they decided to do that because to try to publish an unknown in a large historical novel like that, the format and everything, it would be very expensive, and they couldn't take the chance to publish as many copies, to print as many copies. So it did make the New York Times list, and I think that's because it was in trade paperback.
Okay, just to clarify that, the New York Times list is
Bestseller list.
their bestseller list,
Yeah, it's
which is
a big
quite
one.
an accomplishment for a first novelist.
Yeah, so I'm told.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, I don't know any Indians personally, but my friend Lucia, Clair Robinson, she's researched these things in depth, so she knows what she's talking about. So I'm gonna sing some Red Man blues here, and I hope y'all sing along. It's never been sung before, so if you know the words, it'll be a surprise to me. But here we go now.
It's a Snow Valley morning as you rise and greet the day. It's a Snow Valley morning, so refreshing, nature's way. You can taste the purity of a cool, refreshing mountain stream. It's a Snow Valley morning, nature's best, delivered to you. Snow Valley morning, Snow Valley morning, Snow Valley morning, Snow Valley morning.
Tell us about the second book, Walk in My Soul.
As I said, it was a chapter that got cut out of the first book. Most people know Sam Houston was in Texas. If they really are up on their history, they know he was the father of Texas. He won the battle that got Texas away from Mexico. But Sam Houston was almost 40 years old when he went to Texas. And his life before he went there was amazing. He, as a boy, ran away and lived with the Cherokee Indians in East Tennessee and was adopted by the tribe. He came back later as a sub-agent and convinced his adopted people to move west of the Mississippi. He fell in love with the Cherokee woman, Tiana Rogers, and lived with her out in Oklahoma territory. And just got into all kinds of trouble. I mean, he would have drinking matches where they sort of strip drinking, quote, poker, I guess you'd call it. They would quote a line from the classics and throw an article of clothing into the fire and then take a drink. And of course, by the time dawn came, they were all pretty well under. They used to have chariot races around the square in Nashville with wagons and duels, and he was quite a character.
And this was as an older man. I mean, he wasn't a young whippersnapper.
He was in his he was in his 30s. As a young whippersnapper, he got into trouble too. He was fined for disturbing the peace in Maryville with a drum. They're mustering out the mounted guards there, their volunteer fighting force in Maryville, and apparently there was a big barrel of whiskey every Saturday when they would muster, and by the end of the muster, it turned into a party, and he was fined for disturbing the peace with a drum, beating on the drum. So he was quite a character.
And all this is in the book?
Yes.
Okay.
Plus the scandal of his young wife who left him, and they were threatening to hang him in effigy, and he resigned as governor of Tennessee and left in a real cloud of scandal. Her family was threatening to kill him, and they were hanging him in effigy, and so he never would say what happened and why they split up. and neither would she. So it's still one of history's mysteries.
You must have done a lot of, besides research, a lot of travel to visit the actual locations of these events. Tell us about the travel you've done with both books, starting with Ride the Wind.
For Ride the Wind, I borrowed a friend's car out in Texas with a CB and just took a couple weeks driving. Texas is a big place. I put about 3,000 miles on the car just in the state, covering the sites where Cynthia M. Parker and Quanah Parker and the Comanches lived and hunted and had their battles. And every time I take these trips, for the second book I went through the Smoky Mountains in the East Tennessee, North Carolina area and down into Georgia, and then out to Oklahoma and Arkansas where they moved later. And now I'm researching down in Florida and traveling through the back roads of Florida. But every time you take one of these, it really is a time trip. You really find places that they give you prickles. I mean, they give you goosebumps because you really feel like somehow the spirits of those people are still there. It's quite an experience.
I understand the Ride the Wind book won a prestigious award, and
Which you happen to have right
I just
there.
happen to have right next to me. I carried around a copy. No, tell us what this award is.
It's called the Golden Spur, and the Western Writers of America award about, I guess, 5 of them every year in various categories. This one was the best historical Western, and they have best nonfiction, best first novel, things like that. So I'm proud of it. Not a lot of women get it. It's kind of the boys' field there. But
You're one of the few women that are writing in this genre.
not that, yeah, more and more are. In fact, they took this one to be on Good Morning America when I won it. I didn't even get it. They whisked it off that afternoon.
So they asked the award to come on, but not
Yes, the award
awardee.
came on, but the awardee did not. But Jeannie Williams, who's one of their writers and has won a couple of these and been writing for about 30 years in the Western field, she took it and appeared and held it up because they were trying to say that, you see, women do write Westerns. I hadn't even thought that I was writing a Western. I just thought I was writing a story. I didn't think of it as a category book. But I'm still proud to have it. It's,
So
it's a handsome item.
It is. It makes a nice
Yeah, the ring.
paperweight and or earring or whatnot.
Yeah.
Win another one, you can have.
Right,
two,
I'd like to get another one just so I'll have a pair of them.
So, okay, now that we've covered your 2 previous books, well, tell us about the new book. Its working title and how long you've been working on it and where you are in it and where you've been going to do it and anything you want about it.
Okay. The third book is the one I really wanted to do all along because it's set in Florida. So it's my home territory, and the hero of it has been my hero since 4th grade, and that's Osceola, Chief Osceola, who.
I thought it was maybe Fabian or something.
Yes, I know.
Oh.
Well, no, I'm older than that actually, but
Then Osceola?
yes.
Jeez.
But he led really the resistance when they tried to the Americans tried to ship the Seminoles out of Florida because they were in the way and they wanted their land and tried to ship them to the West.
What time frame is this?
1830, 1832, 1834. And Osceola was a young man, and he wasn't a chief, but he became a leader and really led the fight against them for, well, several years until he was captured under a white flag of truce and imprisoned. Betrayed that way. He became a hero, really, amongst the white people. They would come visit him in prison in Fort Moultrie, Charleston, South Carolina, and he finally died, and George Catlin, the painter, was with him and painted him. His portrait, in fact, which is up over my head. In any case, I heard about him in 4th grade history in Florida, and somehow feel like I'm paying a debt. Admired him all these years, and now I'm getting to tell his story.
Oh.
And it's also been fun going back to my home state and finding nooks and crannies and history that I never knew, even while I was growing up there. And I know you're interested in history, Bob, so I have a few items here I want to ask you about.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, I'm ready.
And I know you're interested because you have been reading a lot on the history of this area, and so if you're writing a novel set in the 1830s, say in Florida, because that's what I'm writing about, I have some objects and I want you to tell me if you can use them in your novel, if you could mention them.
Okay, try me.
Well,
Oh, that's from Underdog.
okay.
This goes on a microphone. This has got in there by accident.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no. That, you wouldn't find that in
Okay,
Florida.
wouldn't find that.
This is an easy one, South Florida.
Okay.
Yeah?
Do I have to tell you?
Yeah, you think you'd find this in 1830 in South Florida? Coconut.
Sure.
Sure, absolutely. Well, you would, but not by much, maybe by about 40 years. Because coconuts, you can hear the sea if you put that up to your ear. Coconuts were delivered by a Spanish wreck, a boat that blew up on shore.
I think I knew her. Didn't she used to go to...
Off the Bath and Tennis Club, Palm Beach, in 1785. The Seminole used to wear these on their dresses. This was a big item of decoration.
The original punks were Seminoles.
Yeah, yeah. Could I use a safety pin in 1830, however? No, not till 1847. They weren't invented till 1847. Ah. Faber pencil.
Pencil. No. I think they had typewriters and word processors back then, but not a pencil.
1683, they used lead encased in cedar pencils. So yes, you could have a pencil.
Okay.
But could you have a good old match to light your pipe?
That's a hard, I don't know.
Yeah, you could, but only by 2 years. They were invented in about 1827, 1828, and they called them lucifers. And you had to have a piece of glass paper to strike them. And obviously, yes, except they didn't use candles very much. They were expensive and difficult, so they used torches of pine and rushlights.
Wasn't that dangerous? I mean, with torches. I mean, inside a home.
Torches, yes. Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of things. They had to get their chimneys cleaned every week.
oh,
Bag?
nah.
Nah, not until 1857.
Oh,
1857, you'd be okay. How about a dime?
that's about what I get paid to do this show.
Yeah, you could have a dime.
You could.
Yeah, 1778, 1776, but you couldn't have a nickel.
Oh.
They weren't around yet, in the form that we see.
So in other
But
words,
anyway,
these
these
are
are just-
things that a novelist has to be
Yeah.
sure of. You have to,
Yeah.
before you just drop that in a book on a page.
Because there are people out there who seem to have nothing else to do but catch you in mistakes like this. You know, oh no, dandelions weren't in. Somebody said Michener made a big mistake. He put plants on the eastern shore that weren't there when the colonists arrived for
So,
Chesapeake. So.
have you been corrected by?
Not nearly as much as I expected. Not very much, but I expect I will be as the years go on.
Oh.
But it is tricky. You just think you have to learn the history, and you have to learn a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Our final question then is of the number of people out there that would probably like to write a book. What kind of suggestions or encouragement or comments do you have for them?
The only thing I ever say is to just do it. People waste an awful lot of energy talking about it. I don't know anyone like that personally, but people do tend to spend most of their time telling the stories in bars or at get-togethers instead of putting it down on paper. It's something you have to do every day, almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's like any other skill. It rusts if you don't use it, or you have to keep at it.
And it is possible to do it without quitting your job, as you did. I mean, you still maintained a full-time job, and but it was a matter of discipline and self-sacrifice as far as using your weekend time when other people would be out sailing or shopping or something.
Yeah.
You were researching and writing.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, if you get a good story, and I don't recommend that you do it just because you want to make a buck or you want to get your name on a book, because then it's real hard to keep going. But if you get a good story that really involves you, you find you get up in the morning and that's what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking about it, it becomes part of your life. And so not to do it is bothersome.
Mm-hmm.
It nags at you.
Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot for your comments and your
Thanks for
help
coming by.
and your time with us. And good luck. And we'll be reading your work. Once again, they're available in any bookstore or drugstore, probably.
They're around, yes. The small Ride the Wind is in the drugstores and the supermarkets, and the bigger ones are in the bookstores.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Thanks.
All right now. Well, that's the show for tonight, folks. Thanks for dropping in. Be sure to tune in next week when we'll be back again. Remember now, always wear a smile wherever you may go. 'Cause Crabtowne cameras may catch you and put you on the show. You know, if there's anything you'd like to see on Crabtowne USA, just you gotta drop us a line. Tell Underdog Productions, P.O. Box 2275.